The crimson moon of Zarthok IV hung low over the obsidian forests, casting long shadows that seemed to breathe with malevolent life. Kiza crouched behind a cluster of crystalline rocks, her tactical scanner flickering with intermittent readings. The device was damaged, a consequence of the crash landing that had stranded her and Nick on this godforsaken planet 3 days ago. Still picking up the signature? Nick's voice crackled through her comlink, steady despite their circumstances. Affirmative, Kiza whispered, her eyes tracking the holographic display. 200 meters northwest. It's circling back. The Alpha Vrexian was the apex predator of this world, a creature that had evolved through millions of years of ruthless natural selection. Standing 4 meters tall on its hind legs with 6 razor-sharp limbs, armored scales that could deflect plasma fire, and a distributed nervous system that made killing it nearly impossible, the Vrexian had terrorized the galaxy's colonial efforts for decades. Entire military detachments had been wiped out by single alphas. The Galactic Council had declared Zarthok IV off-limits after the last expedition vanished without a trace. And now one had chosen them. "It's been stalking us for 2 days," Nick said, emerging from the tree line to Kiza's left. His survival suit was torn, exposing the smart fabric underneath that regulated his body temperature. Despite their dire situation, he wore that characteristic human expression, not fear, but something the other species in the galaxy found deeply unsettling. Anticipation. "I think it's testing us." "Testing us?" Kiza raised an eyebrow. She had served with human operatives before, but Nick's calmness bordered on the absurd. "Nick, this thing has killed trained soldiers. Our weapons are barely functional. We have no backup, and our ship is scattered across 5 kilometers of forest." Nick smiled, and Kiza felt that familiar chill run down her spine. She was Terran-born herself, but even she sometimes forgot what made humanity so terrifying to the rest of the galaxy. It wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was something far more primal. "Exactly," Nick said, checking his makeshift spear, a sharpened piece of hull metal lashed to a branch with biocable. "It's been testing us because we're not acting like prey. Every other species runs when the Alpha hunts. They panic. They scatter. But we've been tracking it right back," the scanner chirped. The Alpha was moving again, faster now. "It knows we're aware of it," Kiza said, her hand instinctively moving to the plasma cutter at her hip. "Only 3 charges remaining." "What's the play?" "The same play humans have been running for 200,000 years, Nick replied, his eyes scanning the darkness. "We're endurance predators, Kiza. That thing out there? It's fast, strong, nearly indestructible. But it's never faced something that refuses to stop. Something that hunts back." The forest erupted with a bone-shaking roar. The Alpha Vrexian burst through the tree line, its 6 limbs propelling it forward with terrifying speed, its multiple eyes locked onto them, bioluminescent saliva dripping from jaws that could crush durasteel. "Run!" Nick shouted, but not in panic. It was tactical, calculated. They sprinted through the forest, the Alpha's roars shaking leaves from the alien trees. Kiza's heart pounded, but she noticed something odd. Nick wasn't running at full speed. He was pacing them, keeping just ahead of the creature. "Nick, what are you doing?" "Making it chase," he called back. "Vrexians are ambush predators. They're built for short, explosive hunts. But we're going to make this a marathon." For the next hour they ran, not in blind terror, but with purpose. Nick led them through narrow passages where the Alpha had to slow, over rough terrain that forced it to expend energy navigating obstacles, through streams that masked their thermal signatures. Every time the creature closed the distance, they'd shift direction, forcing it to burn more energy in pursuit. Kiza began to understand. The Alpha was powerful, but it was designed for a different kind of hunt. Humans had evolved chasing prey across African savannas, until the animals literally collapsed from exhaustion. Persistence hunting, they called it. The ability to just keep going. As the second hour approached, Kiza noticed the Alpha's movements becoming sluggish. Its roars were less frequent, more labored. The creature that had been an unstoppable killing machine was now overheating, its distributed nervous system working against it as metabolic waste built up across its massive frame. "Now," Nick said, his voice still steady despite their run. "Now we become the hunters." They reversed course. The Alpha, confused by prey that suddenly turned aggressive, hesitated for the first time. That moment of uncertainty was all Nick needed. He'd led them back to the crash site where debris lay scattered. As the Alpha charged, Nick triggered the trap, a rigged energy cell from their ship's reactor. The explosion wasn't large enough to kill the creature, but it didn't need to be. The blast disoriented it, and in that moment Kiza struck with her plasma cutter, targeting the joints Nick had identified during their long chase. The Alpha's armor was impenetrable, but joints were always vulnerable. The creature thrashed, but exhaustion had made it slow. Nick drove his makeshift spear into the gap Kiza had created, pushing deep into the creature's vital clusters. The Alpha Vrexian, apex predator of Zarthok 4, fell. They stood over the fallen beast, both breathing hard but alive. In the distance, the sound of rescue ships finally pierced the atmosphere. "You know what the other species don't understand," Nick said, looking down at the Alpha. "They see us as weak because we don't have natural armor or claws or venom. But they forget. We didn't become the dominant species on Earth by being the strongest. We did it by being too stubborn to quit, by hunting everything else until nothing could hide from us." Kiza looked at her partner, understanding finally why humanity had such a reputation across the stars. The galaxy was full of species that were stronger, faster, more naturally armed. But there was only one species that had turned endurance and pure determination into the ultimate weapon. As the rescue team landed and medics rushed forward, a xenobiologist examined the Alpha's corpse with disbelief. "Impossible," she muttered. "Nothing survives an Alpha encounter on foot with minimal weapons." Nick and Kiza exchanged a glance. The xenobiologist didn't understand, but others in the galaxy were beginning to. When humans said, "Let's see who hunts who," they weren't being arrogant. They were making a promise, and humans always kept their promises. The end.